It's a radical move, putting the cabinet secretary of New Mexico's prison system into a cell in maximum security. But when you look at some of the problems with jails and prisons, some may say radical change is exactly what's needed.
Some deplorable and inhumane conditions.
In a box, not much bigger than this.
When you're put in a cell like that,
watching me deteriorate
you get worse.
day after day.
Marcantel passed time by reading, exercising, pacing, and eating, experiencing the same boredom and dullness as any inmate would. In New Mexico prisons, segregation generally means 23 hours a day alone in a cell just like this. In county jails, the isolation could be in a cell much smaller. After a full 2 days, Marcantel walked out of his cell into the light of freedom. His staff was there to greet him with Starbucks coffee. Whew! Segregation ended, but the process of change began.
I had to feel it from the perspective of the inmate, and I had to feel it from the perspective of the correctional officer who works in those environments.
In the early 1980s, prison culture in our state changed dramatically, marked by one single event: the State Penitentiary Prison Riot of 1980. 33 inmates were killed, hundreds more injured, 12 officers were taken hostage and killed.
That we looked that tragedy on February 2nd, 1980, straight in the face and said, never again. That is tragic, it's undignified, and we are not going to have that as our measure as a state.
When the old penitentiary was decommissioned and a new one built, New Mexico, without even knowing it, adopted a culture of containment.
That became our measure of success. To the extent we don't have another riot, we are successful. Over 30 years, it's time to reevaluate ourselves.
Prison experts will tell you it's important to rehabilitate, work with, train, and provide skills to inmates because eventually they leave prison. Leaving an inmate in solitary confinement alone with nothing to do is the worst possible idea for the inmate at the time and the future community he or she will soon join.
It's now for this department to take themselves to the next level. It's time for us to grow and set the standards that we can.
Marcantel knows that 48 hours in solitary doesn't completely paint a full picture of the experience, but it marks the beginning of rewinding history, ensuring that inmates rejoin society a better person than before they went in.